Chapter 755, Different Attitudes. Despite Madame Hella's usual restraint and calm, there are clear emotional ripples this time. Franca thoughtfully withdrew her gaze. By then, many members of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society had regained their composure from the shock, voicing their opinions with both excitement and urgency. Someone shouted, "Hidden Blade, you can't make such assumptions so lightly." Franca roared back immediately, "Whether or not Resurrection Island is a nexus between two worlds, we still need to find Harrison. This isn't a conclusion, it's a direction for our investigation." Another person yelled, "How can we find someone just based on a name?" "I have his portrait," Franca responded instantly. As members expressed their expectations, posed questions, and sought answers, a voice, slightly out of control, shouted, "Why can't you just live peacefully in the present?" Franca looked towards the source of the sound and saw a male member known as Mole. After Mole spoke up, several members loudly said, "I don't want to risk everything for a slim hope. Why can't you give up these fantasies? I have no interest in returning to our previous world." In response to the dissenting voices, Franca wasn't surprised but internally sighed. People vary so much when you gather 100 of them. She sincerely responded, "Searching for Harrison and verifying the situation on Resurrection Island are both entirely voluntary. Those who want to uncover the truth about our transmigration can decide if it's worth the risk. Those who aren't interested can continue as before, but please don't stop others from participating." Mole and others were clearly still worried that investigating Resurrection Island might disrupt their current lives, but with Franca offering the choice of free will, they could only mutter and retreat to the fringes. Seizing the opportunity, Franca added, "For now, our investigation into Resurrection Island is limited to gathering information. Do not go looking for it, it's very dangerous. Once we obtain key information from Harrison, we'll discuss whether or not to go to the island and how to approach it. Right now, let me show you Harrison's portrait." Cheers erupted from some of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society members who had grasped the situation. "Hidden Blade is awesome. Hidden Blade, I love you. Praise be to Hidden Blade." Franca chuckled and tilted her head, her worries and fears somewhat alleviated by the emotions of the crowd. She knew that these members were not without fear of the unknown results of the investigation and the potentially disappointing truths it might reveal, but they had waited too long and desired too much. Even a small glimmer of hope could temporarily relieve their pain and sorrow, releasing their excitement and joy. Franca then took a deep breath, pulled out Harrison's portrait, and affixed it to the back of the massive stone chair. "Everyone, take turns to come and take a look," Franca called out, stepping back from the area around the speckled stone chair. "Do you really think that's a nexus between two worlds?" Gandalf stopped Franca, asking fervently. Franca smiled awkwardly. "It's just a theory still." Gandalf nodded with satisfaction. "That's no problem. Make bold assumptions but verify them carefully. What, in your opinion, is the relationship between Resurrection Island and our world?" Franca asked Gandalf, both hopeful and nervous. Gandalf chuckled. "I don't have any predetermined conclusions yet. I need more information to study." Franca glanced around and lowered her voice. She shared the existence of the Samaritan women's spring, underworld Taoist, and celestial master with President Gandalf, whom she and Lumion had decided to inform before attending this meeting previously. They had only shared this with Hela. After all, they had worked together in the real world before. Gandalf listened attentively and made a judgment. The relationship between the two worlds might be closer than we anticipated. The phenomenon of transmigration may have started even earlier. Before Hidden Blade Franca could respond, the president of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society mused to himself. "With so many signs and traces, it's incredible we haven't encountered them, while you frequently do. This probably requires your praise for the true creator." Franca barely held back a sarcastic remark. After parting from the half-giant Gandalf, she was cornered by the tall Seven. "We've yet to find the person who might be Harrison," Seven simply reported on the previous person-finding efforts. "Maybe he's no longer in Trier." Franca refrained from complaining about the purifier's inefficiency. She glanced at Seven in lion headgear and cautiously asked, "Would you want to return to our original world?" Seven paused for a few seconds before replying, "Of course, but I'm afraid everything has changed. Although the era from which Emperor Roselle transmigrated isn't far from ours, if we return now, we'd only miss a few days of life. No one has gone back yet, so we can't be certain. Maybe the rules for coming and going are fundamentally different." Franca fell silent. Seven glanced at Gandalf sitting on the steps, scribbling in a notebook, and asked Franca, "What did you discuss with the president?" He seemed quite stirred. Franca, managing her emotions, took the opportunity to share with Seven what she had told Gandalf. Seven, Angal Atilda Ame, was stunned for a moment, then clenched his teeth and said, "Why didn't you share this information sooner? What else haven't you told us?" "I was just afraid you would really go all seven," Franca joked, only to be met by a stern look from Seven, which made her chuckle awkwardly. "Sometimes, it's not that I don't want to share, it's either not the right time or I don't have the permission. I'm not Lumion, who has to squeeze out information like toothpaste. If I could tell, I would share everything," Franca added in her mind. Seven knew that Hidden Blade might have joined a secret organization and understood her predicament. He took a couple of deep breaths to calm himself. He mumbled to himself, "You all have found so many traces of another world beneath Trier. I can't believe the two major churches that have watched over Trier for over 1,000 years haven't discovered anything. When I become a demigod, a senior deacon, maybe I'll be allowed to look at those dossiers, right?" Franca agreed repeatedly. In the corner where the Academy group gathered, Professor, Associate Professor, Principal, Isotope, and others had all viewed Franca's portrait of Harrison posted on the stone chair and were eagerly discussing related matters. A woman with the periodic table painted on her face in washable paints asked those around her, "If we really find a way and a path back to our world, would you want to return?" Professor and Associate Professor looked at each other and said, "If we can bring our children without having to leave anyone behind, we definitely hope to go back." Principal, suspected of being a sanguine, laughed. "If I could keep my Beyonder abilities, then I'd be willing to go back." Isotope, with fake heads on each shoulder and wearing a mannequin headgear, chuckled. "I have no attachments or affairs that a mere modern life could replace with the sense of accomplishment I've gained in this world. I don't want to go back." "What about you, Muggle?" asked Periodic Table, turning to the quietly listening Lumion. Lumion paused for a moment and said in the voice of Auror, "That's the place I long for day and night. But I'd also like to take some people who are close to me with me." After much discussion, the topics of going home and Resurrection Island finally cooled down, and as everyone naturally fell silent, Lumion lifted his beautifully curved chin and looked around, asking, "Does anyone know someone from the Moses Ascetic Order?" Suddenly, most members of the Academy group turned their gaze toward Muggle, observing her rosy lips and pale skin exposed outside her hoodie. "Why are you asking this all of a sudden?" asked Professor wearing a butterfly bow tie. The Academy group had many warlocks and had exchanged information about the Moses Ascetic Order, so it wasn't surprising that Muggle knew about this secret organization. Lumion responded with a smile, "I want to pass a message to the Moses Ascetic Order that there's a traitor among them." "A traitor?" Isotope and company listened, somewhat bewildered. Without giving a direct response, Lumion said, "Have you heard of Mirror People?" According to Madame Hella's latest statement, the members of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society, who could enter the nation of the Evernight through the spell, were at most mentally disrupted or harbored corruption inside. It was unlikely that their life forms had changed without detection, so it could preliminarily be ruled out that there were any mirror people lurking here. "I've heard of it," said Professor in a black half-face mask, nodding solemnly. "There have been occasional incidents of original hosts being replaced by their mirror people, but why these mirror people appear is still unknown, and perhaps the official Beyonders have the relevant information." "You seem to know quite a bit about the mystical world." Lumion's lips curled up with a smile. "I know a mirror person named Griffith who has replaced his original host, and his host was a member of the Moses Ascetic Order. Of course, Griffith certainly isn't the name he used in the Moses Ascetic Order. Members of the Academy group remained silent, simply nodding their heads. Lumion did not continue the topic. Professor looked at her and ventured to ask, "Muggle, are you still in Trier?" "Yes," Lumion responded with a smile. Professor looked around and said, "I'm planning to organize a real-world gathering for members in Trier soon. Do you want to join? It will primarily involve our Academy group." Lumion's eyes flickered and he smiled coyly. "Okay,